thank you for this opportunity to talk about the work of the United Nations University Institute on Globalization, Culture and Mobility. My name is Parvati Nair and I direct this institute. I myself am someone with an academic background, working largely in the area of sociocultural aspects of migration and human displacement, particularly in the ways in which they are represented in cultures and societies. I think when we talk about nations, I imagine we're talking about states and governments. States traditionally have been concerned much more with questions of sovereignty, and sovereignty by definition means guarding borders, defining borders and guarding them. And I think that this is why migration has been a somewhat sidelined issue until quite recently in international affairs and in international relations, because the general presumption has been that cross-border migration, international migration, is something that can challenge the primacy of borders that define and protect the idea of sovereignty and of nation and state. I think more recently though, and particularly because of the fact that Europe is facing the largest refugee influx since the end of the Second World War, the question of refugees and migrants has become much more of an issue on the global agenda. I think cities play an incredibly important role. Firstly, I think it's impossible. If we look at the history of our modern times, we see, urbanization as a very key feature. And urbanization would not be happening without migration to cities. Of course, in many cases, the vast majority of migrants to cities are internal migrants from within the country. But I think increasingly if we look at the landscape of international migration, then cities are extremely important actors. I think their importance as places of arrival, places of reception, places of survival, and places of integration, and places of positive contributions from newcomers to more established members of society, and also from more established members of society to opening spaces for newcomers. I think cities play an incredibly vital and dynamic role in defining the ways in which migrants or immigrants can make a new life in a new place. With regard to the integration of migrants in cities, I think we're fortunate. We live here in Barcelona, in an exemplary city which is very committed to welcoming refugees and migrants. A city which is ready, in a way, and prepared to open spaces for them. I think another excellent example is the city of New York, under the mayor de Blasio, and here also we have a mayor who is very supportive of refugees and migrants, and I think these are New York and Barcelona are two very exemplary cities. New York, for example, issues a card to all its citizens, regardless of whether they are documented in terms of the nation state or not. And I think that's an excellent way of opening pathways for access to healthcare, access to education, access to services, access to support. I think these are very, very important lifelines for people who are coming to these cities.